This week, episode of Bleach, this week exceeded my expectation in all categories. In animation, I'm trying to process because I just watched the episode. The animation, the expansion, the flashback, Yamamoto's death, Byakuya's death, I suppose, Ichigo enraged. Wow. So many stuff happening in this episode. And I'm sorry, I am still processing this. Last week, I said episode 6 was the greatest Bleach episode ever. This episode surpassed episode 6. Episode 7 now takes the throne as the best Bleach, the best Bleach episode ever. It's not even close. Fuck Ichigo, Full Hollow Ichigo versus Segunda Resurrection Ukiura. No. Fuck Ichigo versus Grimjo Final Fighter Recommender. Fuck Ichigo versus Byakuya back in Soul Society. This episode takes the #1 spot as the best Bleach episode ever, and it is not even close. Episode 6 and episode 7 is like in its own tier. But episode 7 is something that goes beyond perfect. Like doing things that you don't need to do. But they did it regardless. They did not have to go all out with the Ichigo versus Yuha with that amazing animation fight sequence. They did not have to go and get us on the feels with the perfect OST remake on those certain moments that really hits, and it hits you 10 times more with those classic OST remakes. And the last thing, they did not have to show us the opening sequence. It was too much. This episode of Bleach, oh my god, it's one of the best anime episode of all time. It is. Not just for Bleach, it is one of the best anime episode of all time. Episode 6, it is, but episode 7, definitely one of the best anime episode of all time. We started with this episode with the unexpected. I did expect to see a bit more of the original Goto 13, but not to that extent, where we see Yuha being defeated. We saw some of Yuha and Yamamoto's fight from 1,000 years ago, but this time we're seeing the finishing of that battle, pretty much. And what's really cool is that we see each member of the original Goto 13 having a go at the Stone Readers back then. And we see a glimpse of what type of character they are, even though they don't speak at all, but we can clearly see that these guys were savage. They were bloodthirsty. Like the way they killed, they were like animals. And man, the best part was we see a mountain of corpse and Yuha just standing there. Yuha is the last one standing, and we see the other original Goto 13, they're just standing behind Yamamoto, and we see Yamamoto slowly approaching Yuha, and he's stomping on the corpses of Yuha's fallen soldiers. And as he is approaching the Yuha bar, a Shinigami, he emerges from the corpse. And this Shinigami was Sasakibe, Yamamoto's lieutenant. And we see him stab Yuha back And it looked like Sasakiba was probably not as much of a savage as Yamamoto, but to some degree, Sasakiba seemed like he was somewhat of a savage killer, like the original Goto 13. We saw that through his expression as he went through the stab to Yuha Buck from behind, and then we see Yamamoto finishing off Yuha Buck. So it's like a lieutenant and captain teamwork putting out Yuha Buck, and I fucking love that. I am so glad we're getting some Sasakiba love here, because in the manga, yes, it was sad that he passed away. Like, it was shocking, but a lot of us didn't really care about Sasakiba because Sasakiba's character was never explored in the original Bleach anime and the manga. But in the anime, they made Sasakiba like a likable character. We see Sasakiba's flashback being fleshed out in the anime. We see him using his Bankai. We even see Sasakiba being a part of Yuha's defeat with Yamamoto. So overall, I'm so happy that they're giving Sasakiba some love. That entire opening sequence was amazing. I did not expect that. That was as good as an opening sequence to an episode as you can get. After the opening, we immediately go into a flashback, okay? And we see young Shunsui. He see a painting, like a majestic painting on the wall, and it's Yamamoto when he used his Bankai against Yuha from 1,000 years ago. Yamamoto comes in, he's all pissed off at Shunsui for coming into his room without permission. Shunsui then asks Yamamoto about the picture. Yamamoto says that it's a monster from 1,000 years ago. Then tells Yamamoto what happened if it will come back. And then we transition to Yamamoto's death. And this scene was so fucking sad. We see a close-up shot. We see a bit of blood come out of Yamamoto's mouth. And in slow motion, we see Yamamoto's entire torso just sliding off his body, like slowly. His top section of his body just slowly dropping to the ground. And the most insane, sad thing is that despite being in death, Yamamoto refuses to go all the way down. We see his lower part of his body, or his main part of the body, is still standing. His fucking body is still standing, even though his entire top torso has been cut off completely. Talk about a badass way to go, but at the same time really sad, because Yamamoto still, after death, will not give up. As Yamamoto's body is coming down, Yamamoto says that I won't ever be coming back. Then we see Yuha back, he walks off. Then we see Yamamoto grabs Yuha back by the foot, won't let Yuha back go, even with the state that Yamamoto is in. It's like Yamamoto is just desperate at this point. Even after death, still won't give up. Yuha turns around, cuts off his arm, and then immediately proceed to step and ultimately disrespect Yamamoto by stepping on his head. I was so disgusted when I saw that. Yuha Bak, he's not only cold, but he's disgustingly disrespectful. And then Yuha Bak basically talking smack about how much you have fallen from the good old days. And he's referring to the original Goto 13, the one that Yamamoto founded, and how he was comparing to fearing Yamamoto and his squad back in the days. They were a group of military bloodthirsty killers, and you could clearly see that. from the opening sequence. Now, I'm not sure if they were the strongest. I think he's implying that they are the strongest Goto 13. But the point is that because Yamamoto has gotten soft, therefore, as a whole, the Goto 13 has become weaker as a whole. Because obviously in war, you have to be cold to come out on top. And that is the whole point of Yuha's message. So in a way, Yuha Bark is disappointed to see how soft Yamamoto and the Soul Society has become. So in a way, Yuha Bark greatly respect the original Goto 13 and Yamamoto at his prime. And after he says that, he said, Yamamoto, you guys died along with us 1,000 years ago. And that was deep. And then he completely obliterated Yamamoto's body completely with multiple beams. Yamamoto's completely gone. Then we see everyone's reaction. And just before that, Shunsui crying out to Yamamoto when Yamamoto got cut in half. You could really feel his emotion, like his cry when he said Yamaji. I felt that, man. And he got taken out by, of course, by the Glasses Quincy. So after we see the Shinigami's reaction, Yuha then commands Hashworth, order all Stone Ritter to call out the Soldat. We see some of the Stone Ritters summon the Soldat. So basically they're just Quincy foot soldiers. Basically, they completely overrun Serotope. And then we get like a cool shot from the top view. They're killing the remaining Shinigamis. Left to right, we see Shinigami's body in the floor. Head coming off. Body exposed. It was a really sad scene, man. Like, to see Soul Society in such a condition. Like, never in my life I will ever see Bleach this violence. And on top of that, the good guys, the Soul Reapers, Yamamoto's dead, Byakuya probably dead, and the entire Soul Society into ruin just like that. In a way, this doesn't even feel like I'm watching Bleach, man. This is on a whole other level with the brutalness, the savageness, the way the Quincy is disgustingly annihilating the Shinigami like that. The disrespect the Bandenreich are giving it to the Soul Reapers. It's madness. And after that, I think we move into Ichigo. It appears he's still trapped in the cage. And I have to applaud Morita, Ichigo's voice actor, for his performance with Ichigo so far, and especially this episode. Like, you could hear Ichigo's emotion when he's desperately saying, but knowing that they already disappeared, but yet he's still saying it in desperation. And he finally gets out of the cage, and then we see Akon. It appears that Akon was trying to open it from the other side. Akon clearly got attacked, but Ichigo completely destroyed him on his way out. Then we see Akon on Ichigo's body, which was a nice touch. We didn't see that in the manga. Ichigo released Akon on the ground. The sound effect that they used when Ichigo disappeared, it doesn't sound like a flash step sound. And looking at the Stone Ritter's reaction, it appears that they couldn't detect where he went, or as his spirit energy just completely disappeared. And that is a Sonita. A Sonita does that, where it disappears, but you don't sense the spiritual pressure at all as they disappear. When the flash step, you do. So it's very interesting. So I'm curious, did Ichigo use Sonito in that particular moment? Seeing Byakuya, and this scene was also hard to watch as well. We see Byakuya asking Ichigo if Riki and Renji is alive. Ichigo says yes, they are. And this part with Byakuya and Ichigo was not only sad, but it was also deep. I really love this scene it really shows how far Byakuya had become as a character. From Byakuya being cold back in his early Soul Society days with the execution of Rukia, to Byakuya now, where Byakuya has always been so prideful as a Shinigami. And to see such a prideful Shinigami swallowing his pride for the very first time and asking Ichigo to save Soul Society. And before he says that, he's explaining how he is ashamed of himself for allowing the Quincy to destroy members of his squad family. And Byakuya is expressing and is putting all the blame on him. And he feels like he's unworthy and he is disgusted that he allowed this to happen. And he's that shameful and accepted his pride and allowing his pride to ask Ichigo to save Soul Society. That scene was wow. It was sad. The rain effect with very soft music going on in the background. It really captures that entire moment perfectly. We move on to Ichigo confronting Yuha and Hashvat, and man oh man. From this point on and out, I did not expect to have that much added content and as well as the crazy animation they did. So we see Yuha. Well, before that, Ichigo says, "Are you the enemy's leader?" Yuha says, "I am, and I'm not." And the reason why he says that is because of what happens shortly after, and I'll get to that soon. Ichigo screams out, "Are you the one that turns to Soul Society into like this?" So then we see Ichigo screams, and he's enraged, and then we see phenomenal animation happening with Ichigo. We see this red, enormous energy wave around him, and then we get a close-up shot of Ichigo, and oh my god, like the detail they put on Ichigo's anger, and it looked like Ichigo just turned demonic. He's completely lost it, and just the amount of animation detail and color effect they put into this particular scene was phenomenal. And then we see Ichigo charge into Yuha so viciously, like he's an animal ready to kill. And then we see this anime exclusive Yuha and Ichigo back and forth, and the OST playing in the background was the most epic OST I've heard in all of Bleach. It's crazy. I want to download this OST right now. It's crazy. The OST in this episode was perfect. And after we get awesome sequence of Ichigo and Yuha going back and forth, Yuha face palm Ichigo to the ground. And then Yuha went to stab Ichigo in the throat. Hashwa looked shocked, which was interesting, you know. You would expect your boss to be savage, so I wonder why Hashwa was shocked. Then we see blood vein mark on in Ichigo's neck, and it's flashing, and Yuha is shocked. Ichigo gets out of that situation with the Getsuga Tensho. Then this is the part when it gets heavy and a bit emotional, and it really shows you how much Ichigo is in the dark. And the irony is, the episode itself is called Born in the Dark. Yuha then tells Ichigo that he should have sent an Aranka or something instead of a Quincy, because it awakens Ichigo's power, Quincy power, too soon. Then Ichigo's confused. He's like, "What do you mean? What do I have to do with the Quincy and etc.?" Yuha says, "I see. You have no idea who you are, not even about your own mother." And we get confirmation that Ichigo's mum is the Quincy. It's finally confirmed for you anime watchers only. For all the years, we always guessing, who is Ichigo's mum really? Is she just a regular human, or is she like something else? And here it's confirmed that Ichigo's mum is indeed a Quincy. Shocking revelation. Ichigo's in shock So that's why when Yuha said, I am the enemy, but at the same time, I'm not. Alright, because Ichigo is not only a Soul Reaper, he's also a Quincy. Now things just got very interesting with that reveal. So now that Ichigo knows that he's also part Quincy, which side is he going to be exactly? Is he going to be the Shinigami side, or is he going to be the Quincy side, or is he going to be on his own side? Because that revelation about his mom being the Quincy, it made the story a lot more interesting between the main character and Yuha. Now there seems to be some sort of a personal rivalry going on between Yuha and Ichigo. We see an anime exclusive of Yuha using a new Quincy technique. I don't know what it's called. It's called Quavri or something like that. So basically, it's not a cage. It looks like a cage, and we see arrows coming from all directions, striking at Ichigo, and Ichigo is trying to block it off with his Getsuga Tensho, but it became overwhelming, and then all of a sudden we see like boulders smash into Ichigo, and we see Ichigo using the full extent of his blood vein to the extreme to minimize as much damage as possible. And at the same time, they were playing Nothing Can Be Explained remake, and it really hits because this scene was sad. Like, you could clearly see Ichigo struggle to try to get out of that Quavri desperately, and the music's playing on at the same time, the sad music, and Ichigo is pretty much hopeless. Yuha's about to properly strike Ichigo, and then we see his shadow thing comes out and basically has to tell Yuha it's time to go. Like, we're at a time limit now. So it's interesting. It seems like they only have a certain time limit with the shadow to a certain different area, so they have to come back home. They showed all the Stone Ridders leaving. The disrespect that the Stone Ridders did, like the audacity to just look down at the opponent and leave Soul Society how it is, man. Ichigo then gets up, he yells, basically, I'm not going to let you go. And then they ignore Ichigo and they continue to go. And then Ichigo charged in, and Jugram fucking Hashworth swung his sword and cut Ichigo's Bankai in half. I'm telling you, man, keep your eyes closed on Jugram, because this guy is fucking hacks, man. This guy is powerful, alright? To cut Ichigo's Bankai in half like it's nothing speaks volume. This guy is obviously not as strong as Yuha, but he's up there with Yuha. Like, Yuha is treating him like pretty much his equal, you know? And so Yuha basically leaves saying, I'll come back for you, my son, in the dark. And then we see the episode title, Born in the Dark, and the episode ended. And then we see a new ending visual is showing the original Goto 13 pretty much. Some of them is the same pose from the color spread that Kubo drew out a couple of days ago. I really like it. This episode really heavily emphasized or show the original Goto 13. Now I'm hoping this is not all we get for the original Goto 13. I do believe Kubo has planned for them at some point in the future, potentially in the Hell arc. I really hope so. I don't think you would draw a double color spread for original Goto 13 just for this particular episode, you know what I mean? So we basically see like a few shots of each of the members of the original Goto 13. Then we see the current Goto 13, and we finish off with Satsukiba and Yamamoto. And that was the episode. Wow. I'm in a loss of word. I'm still processing what happened in this episode. I think I went over half an hour, but there were just so many things to talk about. There was my thoughts on the episode and everything. But yeah, this episode was phenomenal. Like I said before, it is now the best Bleach episode of all time, and one of the best anime episodes of all time. It surpassed episode 6, but this time I'm actually going to put down 11 out of 10. This episode was beyond perfect. Okay, the last episode was perfect. This episode was beyond perfect. So I'm giving this episode an 11 out of 10. Let me know what you thought about this episode. Do you agree with me? Do you think this episode was better than the last episode? Is this the best Bleach episode ever? Did it exceed your expectation? And what do you think of the original Goto 13? I can't even speak anymore, guys. But you get my point. Just comment down below your thoughts. What was your favorite part of this episode? The OST and everything. This episode was crazy. It was perfect. Beyond perfect. That being said, guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. It will really help me out and support this channel so I can bring out more content in the future, or try to make my video better. Yeah, guys, I will see you in the next video. I am super exhausted. I hope you have an awesome day. And for you guys out there that are soccer fans or football fans, I hope you're enjoying this World Cup, because I'm enjoying. It's really hard to get some sleep at all. Anyways, guys, I don't want to get off topic. I'll see you in the next video. Joda S signing out. Peace. Have an awesome day.